Welcome, everyone. Hello. Happy Friday to you. Yes, you are listening to the Scoreboard. No phone calls today. Today's episode was recorded at an earlier time, but we still have a lot of information to go over with you guys today. And playoffs are almost over in the NHL and the NBA. We are down to the finals, and I have a lot of thoughts on the finals and how they're being represented. I don't know how they're doing it, really, is what I have a problem with. And by that I mean we have had to sit around and wait for days at a time before games get back underway. I don't think that's the way to be doing this at all if you're the NHL or the NBA. We also have NASCAR. The NASCAR Cup Series goes to Mexico City for the first time ever for the Cup Series, first time in a long time for the Xfinity Series. They used to go there. I believe they've been there once or twice in the Xfinity Series. So this weekend, what we have is Cup and Xfinity at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. That is the purpose-built Formula One racetrack. Just keep that in mind. Also, there's some things in the news that we're going to talk about. We're going to go over what's going on in baseball, talk about the season so far as is. We also have some trades going on in other leagues that we're going to get to as well. The big news out of the NFL, Aaron Rodgers has finally signed his contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'll tell you what, I'm surprised that people are surprised. When you look at the Steelers roster and the quarterbacks that they have, you kind of assumed that they would end up signing Aaron Rodgers, because as is, before they signed Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers were going into next year with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as their quarterbacks. Now, we've already done the Skylar Thompson experiment, or we've done both. We've done the Skylar Thompson experiment, and we've done the Mason Rudolph experiment. Neither of those worked out. Now, they do have Will Howard, the rookie out of Ohio State. I didn't really expect him to see the field, but we've seen Mason Rudolph. We've seen Skylar Thompson. Neither of them are the future for the Steelers. Maybe Will Howard can be, but they need a stopgap in between. So that's where Aaron Rodgers comes in. I am not surprised that he signed. I felt like this whole offseason has just been Aaron Rodgers not signing because he doesn't want to go to the optional mini camps. That's one way to look at it. But also, once you saw that the Steelers were playing the Jets in week 1, I just assumed that one day before the season starts, Aaron Rodgers was going to sign with the Steelers. I didn't think he was going to go without playing this year, if that makes sense. He was definitely going to find a home somewhere, and it just so happens that the Steelers is where he found that home. So we'll see what happens. You know, we're only 3 years removed from an Aaron Rodgers MVP. He did have that one bad year after the back-to-back in Green Bay. Then he tore his Achilles. And last year was kind of a recovering from the Achilles tear, if you ask me. So this year we'll really see if Aaron Rodgers has lost a step. He's 41 years old now. He's probably lost a little bit. But we'll see what happens as we go into this football season. And I'm excited. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to be excited about for the NFL, at least, with all the games that they have overseas this year, some of the storylines that we have. I've seen some videos of some teams already got pads on, so we're right around the corner. I know it's only June, but we're right around the corner from football being back. So that'll be really nice to see. We're going to get into this a little bit more, but we are really, really having a bad time here. I am sick and tired of these playoffs, man. The NHL, the NBA. There's this thing called momentum, and both of these leagues have the momentum. During the playoffs, first round, second round, they have the momentum. It's there. And then you get into the championships, the finals, and it's, okay, let's play a game, and now we're going to wait 3 days. And then we'll play a game, and now we'll wait 2 days. And now we'll play a game, and now we'll wait 3 days again. You're killing the momentum. You're killing the hype of your own sport here. Both leagues, the NBA and the NHL. We've gone 2 nights here without anything going on. What's going on? It's really frustrating. It is. And I don't understand it, because you go through the first couple of weeks of the playoffs, and you have a game, and then you have a day off, and then you play, and then you have a day off, and then you play, and then you have a day off. In the NBA specifically, Oklahoma City and Indianapolis, they're not so far away from each other to where you need 2 travel days. Just 1 rest day is more than enough. And you kill the momentum. You have a great game 1 with that comeback, and then you got to wait 3 days for game 2. I mean, what is this about? The NHL, you have game 1 go to overtime. Wonderful. You wait 2 days. You have 2 days in between. It's not even travel. It's just waiting 2 days. And then you play and you go to overtime again, and it's a wonderful game. And then you wait 2 days again. This time it's because of travel. And I understand the travel in the NHL. I understand it, because you're going from Edmonton, Alberta to Florida. That's a long trip. But for the NBA, why are we not playing every other day, even when there is a travel that's built in? Like, the off day should be your travel day, and then you play the next day. You're killing the momentum. It should be you play the game, then the next day everybody talks about the game, and then the next day you play the next game. That's how you keep momentum. That's how you keep eyes on your sport, and that's how you keep people interested. This year, though, it is so slow. There's no momentum anymore, and the leagues have themselves to thank. We're going to go deeper into the NBA and the NHL, but first, we are coming up on a commercial break, so don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot to talk about today. We will be back right after this. Gentlemen, we are back here on the Scoreboard, proudly presented by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos. If you were at the game on Wednesday, I was there. I threw out the first pitch. It was fun. I'll tell you what. I was saying this beforehand, like, it had been so long since I picked up and threw a baseball. When you hang out with friends, go to the beach or something, you don't throw a baseball. You're throwing a football around, right? Like, most people throw a football around for fun, not baseball, because then you need a glove. The other person's got to know how to throw a baseball. So it had been a long time since I had thrown a baseball, but we got the first pitch done. Big thank you to everybody at the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos for allowing me to do that. It was a great experience. Game was really good as well. The Harbor Hippos, man, they got a good team. And I'll tell you what, that's an awesome field. It really is. It's a really cool field. I actually grew up playing baseball down at that complex. I hadn't seen the new and improved fields yet with the turf, but it was pretty awesome to see. Now, last night, June 11th, the game, look, it was a good game. The Lake Norman Harbor Hippos got out to a big lead there and almost let it slip through their fingers. But a final score of 6-5 as the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos beat the Wilkes County Moonshiners. It was a good game all around for everyone. Saw a couple home runs, a lot of fun, good game. It's a good vibe there. If you haven't checked out the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos, go check them out down at the Huntersville Athletic Complex. It's a fun time, a lot of activities. Things that are going on in between games too. Like it's really cool what they got going on over there. And a big thank you, as I said, to sponsoring the Scoreboard. And I will say about my first pitch, I did reach home plate. I didn't short hop it. That was my one and only concern. I didn't care if it was a strike. I would have been okay with airmailing it. I just didn't want to short hop it into the plate. That would have been embarrassing. And I didn't really throw it that hard. I just get it there. Get it there and get off the field. That's all you got to do. But big thank you. That was a lot of fun. So the Hippos, 4-4 right now, 500. They scored 6 runs 4 times. And every time they scored 6 runs, they've won. Except for once. But they keep scoring 6. It seems to be their magic number. Very interesting. Let's move on from this. We got some other things I want to talk about. I wanted to get into the playoffs for the NHL. We'll also talk about the NBA playoffs a little bit, and we'll talk some Major League Baseball later on in the show. We got to touch on NASCAR as well. So we got a lot to go over. The Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers in their rematch for the Stanley Cup final. Florida Panthers are winning 2-1, and man, game number 3 was something. Throwback to 80s hockey, am I right? People talk about the 80s like it's the most amazing thing in the world. Well, there you go. You got your fill of 80s hockey in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. 85 penalty minutes for the Oilers, 55 penalty minutes for the Florida Panthers, and a lot of people getting thrown out of the game. At some point, the officials just started saying, all right, there's a misconduct, you're done. And we had a line brawl. We had like a 3-minute fight between 2 of the players. My favorite thing about line brawls is watching a couple of officials try to break it up and a couple of officials just standing there with their hands on their hip like, all right, guys, are you done? Well, let's get back going here. The only thing we didn't see was a goalie fight, which would have been amazing. I think just get it out of the way, do a goaltender fight, and give us everything that we want and deserve. We want and deserve goaltender fight in the Stanley Cup playoffs, in the finals. That'd be awesome. But the reason this all happened is because Florida started kicking some butt. And I was watching Game 3, and it was 3-0 Florida, and Edmonton scored to try and cut the lead back and make it a game. And then Florida scored 2 consecutive goals. I mean, back-to-back within succession of each other. And I got flashbacks. I was having like flashbacks to when the Hurricanes played the Panthers. And the one thing that I noticed during that series that happened more than I had ever seen before is the amount of consecutive quick strike goals that Florida was able to score on the Hurricanes. They would score, and then a minute and a half later, the puck would be in the back of the net again. It happened so many times to the Hurricanes. I hadn't seen Florida do that to anybody else until Game 3, where they score those quick goals back to back and really put the game out of hand. That's when Edmonton started falling apart, taking penalties, cheap shots. It was ugly. It was not. It was entertaining. but it was ugly. Definitely was entertaining. So where do we go from here? If you're the NHL, if you're the referees, if you're the players, NHL's not going to do anything. It's the Stanley Cup final. They are not going to do anything. The officials, maybe, and this is about the only thing that I can see happening, is maybe when we have game 4 later on tonight, tonight for me, yesterday for you guys listening, maybe if it gets chippy early, we see penalties called right away, and the officials try to get a hold on that really quickly. That's about the only thing that I can see happening. Otherwise, it's on the players to decide, hey, we just got to be better. If you're Edmonton, you got to play better. If you're Florida, don't change. Keep doing what you've been doing. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final is tonight, yesterday for you guys. Thursday, June the 12th, 8 o'clock is going to be puck drop. I'm excited for Game 4. I do hope that it's a little cleaner and a little closer, because a 6-1 blowout in the final, that's not what we've been seeing in these playoffs. You know, we went through the first few rounds, and we had a handful of games that were out of hand. Otherwise, pretty much throughout the entirety of these Stanley Cup playoffs, it has been a close game. Each team has had a chance to win, even when the teams are down 2 late in the game. Look at what happened to Winnipeg and St. Louis. Winnipeg was down 2 late in the game, pulled their goalie, scored twice, and won in overtime. That was a Game 7. We've had very competitive playoffs so far. I hope Game 3 wasn't indicative of what we're going to see in the rest of the series, because even Games 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup playoff this year, of the Stanley Cup final, I should say, both of them went to overtime. Game 1 was in overtime, and Game 2 was won in double overtime. Hopefully we get more overtimes. One last thing I want to comment on with the Stanley Cup playoffs is I find the broadcast schedule very interesting. ESPN has the rights to broadcast hockey whenever they want. And the entirety of the Stanley Cup final is being played on TNT, True TV, and Max. You can't get it on ESPN Plus if you have an ESPN Plus subscription. TNT, True TV, and Max. That doesn't feel good. It feels like if you're in the final, it should be on ESPN. And when you look at the NBA and what they've been doing, their games are on ABC, prime time. Last year, and I think I might be correct about this, I'd have to go back and look, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure last year the NHL had the Stanley Cup Finals on prime time on channels that everybody had, not TNT, not True TV. So I'm just a little annoyed at that, because I feel like it's not growing the game, and we talk about that a lot when it comes to hockey. How do you grow the game? The way you grow the game is not by putting the Stanley Cup final on TNT. No, don't do that. But that's what they're doing. We got to head to our next commercial break of the day, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the halfway point here on the Scoreboard. So don't go anywhere. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to get into the NBA, the MLB, and some NASCAR in the second half of the show. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this. Second half of the Scoreboard. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. This episode was recorded earlier. It was recorded yesterday for you guys listening. So hopefully nothing crazy happens in between now and then. Proudly sponsored by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos is the Scoreboard. Head on over to the Huntersville Athletic Park and check them out. I want to say a big thank you to Marissa and Cindy Snyder. They wished me a happy birthday the other day, and they sent me a package and had some cool stuff in there, including an award. I won an award for media. I forget what it said. I should have brought it. I should have brought it with me. And I'm blanking. What did it say? Media extraordinaire. That's what it said. So big thank you to Cindy and to Marissa for that. And yes, it was my birthday. Thanks for the birthday wishes. I do appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. Big shout out. They're awesome. They always call in when they have the chance. And yeah, just a big thank you. That's really all I got to say is thank you. Very unnecessary, but I do appreciate it. We're going to talk a little NBA now, as the NBA Finals are 2 games to 1 in favor of Indiana. Yeah. Not everybody who thought that Oklahoma City was just going to run away with this was right. A 116-107 win in game number 3 for Indiana, and you start to wonder, can the Pacers pull this off? I'm not going to say no, especially when you have Tyrese Halliburton playing as well as he is. 22 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists in game number 3. You also had Pascal Siakam, who had a really good game, 21 points. And I think Oklahoma City, for the first time in this entire year, is feeling a little bit of pressure. We've talked about it. They breezed through the regular season. They breezed through the NBA playoffs. They were never challenged. Not once were they challenged. You could say that Denver gave them a run for their money with that going 7 games, but I never felt like Denver was the better team in that series. It always felt like Oklahoma City still had it in their control. They sweep the Grizzlies, they get by the Nuggets, they destroy the Timberwolves, and now they find themselves down 2 games to 1 in the NBA final. Now, unfortunately, we got to wait till Friday, and thankfully, it's not a 2-day wait. They play on Wednesday, rest day on Thursday, play on Friday. But then the rest of the schedule, play on Friday, you're off Saturday, Sunday, play on Monday. Rest Tuesday, Wednesday, play Thursday. Off Friday, Saturday, play Sunday. You're killing the momentum. Killing the momentum when you have this many days in between. NBA, the National Basketball Association, Adam Silver, listen to me. What else is happening that you can't play these games every other day? There's no other basketball games on. So what's the problem? Is the arena being used? How do you not have priority being in the playoffs? Is it the TV? Is it really the TV deals that are restricting this from being every other day? Doesn't make any sense to me. And it really, the more I see it, and we're seeing it more and more, the more it angers me, because you're killing your momentum. And again, Wednesday, you had a great game. So let's talk about it today on Thursday, and then we play the next game on Friday. You should always have something going on, whether you're playing the game or you're talking about it the next day. Play the game, you talk about it. You play the game, you talk. Not you play the game and now you sit around for 2 days and wait until day 3 to play a game. I'm sorry, I know this really doesn't impact all that much, but it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. Game 4 is on Friday, 8:30 on ABC. Shea Gilgeous has to show up. SGA, where are you? I mean, you're averaging 32 points a game here. And in game 6, now I will say I wasn't able to watch the entirety of the game. Like I said, I was over at the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos game, but Shai Gilgeous only had 24. That's 24, 8, and 4. That's not going to do it. And he played 42 minutes. He's playing the whole game. I don't know where else to go with this. If you're Oklahoma City, what changes can you make? Do you throw Aaron Wiggins in there a little bit more? Probably not. Does Alex Caruso get a start? Maybe. Maybe you throw Alex Caruso in there, but he didn't play great either. Not many people played well if you're Oklahoma City. And if you're the Pacers, stay the course. Stay the course. Your bench performed. You had 27 from Benedict Mathurin off the bench, which is amazing. That's great. That's what you want, is your bench to contribute. I always say this in the playoffs with the NBA. If your bench is outscoring the other team's bench, you got a really good chance to win. That's not necessarily true anymore, especially in the playoffs. You see a lot of teams not making substitutions and just keeping the starters out there for the entirety of the game, which doesn't make the most sense to me. But when your bench is performing like that, you got a good chance to win. So if you're the Pacers, stay the course. Don't change much. We're coming up on our final break of the show here, but before we do, I at least want to update you guys on Major League Baseball. There are games going on as I'm talking about this. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to worry about the standings. The league leading New York Mets now are 44-24 as they have won 5 consecutive games. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Half game behind them now are the Tigers, who had held that number 1 spot in the MLB. Just over 500 here recently, as are the Yankees, 2 games back of the Mets, 6-4 in their last 10 games. Cubs and Dodgers both with 41 wins as well, playing 500 baseball. The San Francisco Giants have won 7 games in a row as of recording this. And the Colorado Rockies have 12 wins on the year. 12. They're 12-55. How are you that bad? Even worse, if you're the Miami Marlins, how did you get swept by the Rockies? You got swept by a team that had 9 wins going into the series. That is bad. Anyway, you guys know how I feel about baseball season. Usually you get more into it after we give out the NBA and the NHL trophies. So we will dive deeper into the baseball season once that happens. When we come back from this commercial break, we're going to talk about NASCAR, Michigan last weekend, Mexico City this weekend. A lot to talk about. So don't go anywhere. We're back after this. Gentlemen, final segment of the Scoreboard. Happy Friday to everyone listening. One more reminder, this episode was recorded earlier in the day. Well, earlier yesterday, meaning. So I'm recording this on a Thursday. The show is airing on a Friday. Hopefully nothing crazy happens in between now and then that I can't talk about. Pain. Anyway, we're going to talk some NASCAR. The NASCAR Cup Series was at Michigan last weekend. Denny Hamlin becoming the next driver to get his third win of the season. Now, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell all have 3 wins on the year. They are the only repeat winners this year, by the way. So William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, and Josh Berry are your other winners. Right now, William Byron leads the points. The reason he leads the points is because he has 50 more, or almost 50 more, stage points than anybody else in NASCAR right now. He's 41 points ahead of Kyle Larson. Another thing that's helping William Byron, he has not had a single DNF all year long. He's racking up the points. You could see that 24 car as the regular season champion. That hasn't happened before. I don't think we've ever seen the 24 car as the regular season champion. We've seen the 24 car as the champion, not in the regular season. So Michigan put on a good show, I think. We talk about this next-gen car a lot and the tracks that it races well at, and we've all decided it's very good at the 1.5 miles, especially Charlotte. It was okay at Nashville. Once we had that long 100-plus lap green flag run, kind of got into a one-groove racetrack and nobody was able to pass anymore. But Michigan was not like that. We had multiple grooves racing. The draft was good. The restarts were intense. I hope Alex Bowman's feeling okay today. That was a hard hit. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If not, go back and watch. That was a big accident. So Denny Hamlin gets the win. It's his third of the year. He was able to make his fuel last as he outdueled the 24 car of William Byron, who ended up finishing 28th as Byron ran out of gas coming to the white flag. Also, another driver that we had our eye on was Carson Hocevar, who was leading in that final stage of the race before his tire went flat and he had to come in for a pit stop. Carson Hocevar ended up finishing 29th. I think Carson Hocevar is going to be our next first-time winner. I don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people feel that way. I feel almost like Carson Hocevar this year, like I did about Ty Gibbs last year. Like, his time is coming. Give him a little bit. His time is coming. And speaking of Ty Gibbs, man, he got back on the right track on Sunday with a third-place finish at Michigan, making his gas last that entire last run. Only accruing 34 points, though. So he definitely wasn't the biggest point getter on the day. But a third place finish has got to feel good for that team. Now, Hamlin was able to pass the 24 of William Byron before he ran out of gas, and he kind of controlled the race from there. Denny only led the final 5 laps of this race, by the way. That's all you need to do. He led the one that counted, and he got the win. So Denny Hamlin, your winner at Michigan. Some interesting results here. Zane Smith in the 38 car finishing 7th. You had Ryan Preece finish P9. Brad Keselowski 10th. I think this is the first time this year that all 3 RFK Fords finished in the top 10. Eric Jones had a good run, finishing 11th. Alex Bowman, we noted his accident. He finished last in P36. Also, Joey Logano. I don't know what's going on with that 22 team, but Logano doesn't feel the same as last year. Maybe in a way it does. He's got 1 win. Hasn't really been a point of emphasis for him this year. No conversation around him. He was awful during the 600, just awful. But, man, some interesting runs here. Shane Van Gisbergen, P18, that's not a bad run for him. Speaking of Van Gisbergen. If you didn't put money on him to win on Sunday, I want to know who you put money on, if you bet at all. The odds for this weekend's race are quite funny, actually. When you look at who's got the best odds to win the inaugural Cup Series race at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, the Viva Mexico 250, as it is being called. I'm going to pull up the odds for you guys because I want everybody to see exactly how big of a favorite Shane Van Gisbergen actually is. I'm trying to get my odds up right now, but I don't think DraftKings wants to be very cooperative. But Shane Van Gisbergen has to be a favorite for the inaugural race at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. The first time, or the last time I should say, that NASCAR went to a road course for the first time, who won? Shane Van Gisbergen. That was at the Chicago Street Race. But SVG, he is the favorite for this weekend's race. I'm not going to be able to pull up these odds. The internet right now is being awfully slow for me. But as far as who else we're going to be keeping an eye on this weekend, SVG is plus 330. The next closest driver is Christopher Bell at plus 700. Whoo, man. Now that may have changed. Those odds are from a couple of days ago. But heavy favorite for Shane Van Gisbergen. And there's no surprise why. He is the road course ringer. I have been on this all year. I think that he is going to win at least 2 races before we get to the playoffs, which start in Darlington this year. We have Watkins Glen, a road course, Sonoma, Chicago, and this weekend. Now, one thing I do have to fight a little bit with NASCAR on this one is we go to the Chicago Street Race and then we go to Sonoma. Back-to-back road courses. Not my favorite thing in the world. And then we got 3 races before we go back to a road course. Again, not my favorite thing. A lot of road course racing. Maybe stick to the ovals. But, man, the one that's always going to grind my gears is that Charlotte Motor Speedway race in October. Go back to the oval. Go back to the oval. Please. Please. We have seen how good the racing there is. Anyway, I got Shane Van Gisbergen winning. That's my prediction. You might see somebody like Daniel Suarez have a good race. AJ Allmendinger could be up there for a good portion of the race as well. Chase Elliott, although I don't think he's going to be a favorite, he could be up there. He's had a really weird year. This year so far, has Chase Elliott, since winning the Clash at Bowman Gray this year. Chase Elliott is 5th in the standings right now, but something's off. That team shouldn't be 5th in the standings. Let's go ahead and get to the end of this program, as we always do, some things that happened on this day in sports history, and I'm going to go ahead and do what we usually do. We'll start with the most recent things, and we'll end with the oldest thing. 2023, on this day, the Denver Nuggets won their first championship, 4-1 over the Heat. Nikola Jokic was the MVP. Also on this day, same year, JT Realmuto hit for the cycle. Not often that you see a catcher hit for the cycle. And 1875, the 9th Belmont Bobby Swim aboard Calvin wins in 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Thanks everyone for tuning into the Scoreboard today. I appreciate each and every one of you for listening. Watch the NHL. Watch the NBA. NASCAR this weekend is going to be cool too. Until next week, I'll talk to you guys then. I will be live next week, so call in. Until then, see you guys.